Welcome to Determined to Succeed podcast. I'm your host, Dawn Malarney, also known as the Unique Connector. So I'm so excited to have Korryn on the show today. She used to be, let's just say, a room away from me for college, and now we're 200 miles apart, but it doesn't matter the distance. We're always keeping in touch and always being that friend that no matter what time we call each other, have a video chat, we can just pick up where we last left off at. So, Korryn, you recently just took a big move in your life where you just moved from northern Wisconsin to Iowa. So, how about you quick introduce yourself and also why you made that drastic move?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you. I am so proud of the journey that you are on, and I am excited to be a part of it.
Oh, thank you.
So a little bit about me. Dawn and I met in college at UW Whitewater back in 2003. Um, and as fate would have it, we were both in the same freshman seminar class. So that was where we first met. Like, we didn't have the same major or anything like that. It was that one particular class that brought us together, and it's been history ever since. So
Right.
um just excited that we've been able to have that friendship for so long and continue to learn and grow together. A little bit about me. Yes, we did just move to Southeast Iowa. So we moved about 6.5 hours south of where we had previously lived, to a town that we did not know at all. Uh,
Mm.
Moved away from family that we had close, and it just felt like the next step that we needed to take. So my husband found out he wasn't going to have a job. We found another opportunity that we felt like could be a really good fit for him, a really good opportunity, not only in the current state, but also the long term. And so we decided that we were going to go for it. I thankfully have a job where I work remotely, so I was able to make that shift with him and our two kiddos without having to figure out that piece of it. But when you make that kind of a move, there is so many unknowns and so much questioning that goes on in your head. Like, is this really the right thing? What are we doing? Oh my goodness. And I think what I really found my peace in with the whole process was, because you're looking at, oh my gosh, what am I leaving behind?
Hmm.
And that's a really tough thing to be stuck in. But also, and I think a friend kind of brought this to my mind, is like, but we don't know what we're saying hello to,
Yeah.
what this could bring into our life. And so while it was incredibly hard to make that decision and walk away from the dream house that we bought in
Hmm.
2021, that we were like, this is it. We're going to buy this house. We're going to let the kids go through school and graduate, and then we'll see what's next. And I think for a lot of people that are close to us, it maybe seems like we just up and made this huge move. But there was something about it that just felt right. And we agreed that this was what we wanted to do. And so here we are, starting a new life in a new community. And it's been a really incredible journey. And the place that we're in feels like a fit on so many levels. So um, even though there was all that questioning, like, we had to trust that it was going to be worth it. And 4 months in, we're feeling like that is definitely the case.
Ooh, well, I love that. And I think it goes back to even to like what you were saying of we instantly go to like, what's the worst that can happen? Oh, I'm leaving everybody behind. You're always kind of thinking of the negative things instead of like the positive of like,
Yeah.
what could come out of this? How could this like even be great for our family or time to connect on a deeper level? Or even to, I remember when you were telling me you were going to move of just how, now when you come back, you'll be able to spend that more quality time with your parents, where
Yeah.
sometimes we don't always think of those little things
Yeah.
where right now they're so close. So it's like drop off the kids for the weekend and maybe I'll chat with you for a little bit, but you don't get that quality time
Yeah.
together. And so this is the part too where I've always loved that we've always stayed connected. And I've always been inspired by you because you're always trying new things and you're always like, you've always been whipper smart. And this is where too, I'm always like, how are you doing these things? And how do you remember all this stuff? But the one piece that a lot of people maybe not know is before all of this, you kind of had a drastic family change, even for you guys, which really kind of even changed your lifestyle big
Mhm.
time as a mother. So I would love for you to kind of dive into that too, of what kind of happened even before you moved.
Yeah. So in April of 2022, our then 7-year-old son, he's now 8, was
Mhm.
diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic. And that was a huge shift. It brought on a whole nother level of responsibility and things to think about in our life. Um, and I feel like through my journey over the last 3 years of really kind of self-discovery, self-compassion, and faith, I was able to meet that situation in a much different space than I would have been able to prior. And I think I've watched our family develop from the things that I've learned. So the things that I've learned and I've brought into our house, like I see all of my family emulating, and that's been really powerful for us of just being able to like adjust when we need to adjust. So a type 1 diabetes diagnosis, I think I never realized the complexity of it until I was thrown into it. I will wholeheartedly admit I have seen other families go through this diagnosis and thought to myself, it's not that big of a deal. Like, because I had an aunt growing up that had type 1 diabetes, and so I felt like I knew what it was. I had
Yeah.
no freaking clue. No freaking clue.
Yeah.
And so, you're so naive about things until you actually know it. So, with his diagnosis, I feel like all along it's just kind of been like, I don't know why us. I don't know what this means, but we're going to learn and grow from it. And we're not going to let this define him or us. As I talk about it, I have to be careful. I've realized over the last year that he sometimes, as the type 1 diabetic, he doesn't want to talk about those things, or he doesn't want that to be known about him. I, as the type 1 diabetic mom, have a lot to share. I am very open to sharing things. So I have to catch myself between like just telling everyone that I meet when I
Yeah.
meet them, like a part of our journey, um, because that's what I need, and also taking into consideration what he needs in the matter. So, all that to say, I think the biggest things for us with this diagnosis were just really leaning into it, learning about it, but not trying to control too much, not trying to hold too tightly to the reins of anything. So, a lot of times when someone finds out that he is a type 1 diabetic, it's like, oh, he can't have that, or he can't have sugar, or he can't have this. And that's what they've learned through media and other mediums, or what they've heard, what they've observed. But that's really not the case for us. And thankfully, all of our endocrinology teams have always been very much kid first, diabetes second. And so I think them sharing that approach with us has helped us to adapt more easily. It's like, he's a kid and he can do these things, and he can have the birthday cake, and he can have the snacks that the other kids are having. We just have to adjust what we're doing as a result of that. And
Mm.
we can do that. We can flex to the situation and help him feel normal in what he's going through, and like doing the things that the other kids are doing. But just with a little more care and consideration of, okay, how much insulin do we need to give, and all of those things. So um, I could talk about diabetes for days. It's a
Oh
journey.
yeah.
It's not black and white. I think that's the other thing that people don't realize. And we're actually in the process. He just started a new daycare. And so we're teaching his daycare provider like how to care for him. And I told her up front, like, I'm going to tell you all these things, and these are guidelines that we follow, but it's not black and white, because something's going to change. His activity is going to be high, or maybe we miscount something and then we didn't give enough insulin, or we gave too much insulin, and then we're going to need to adjust as a result of that. There is no black and white, but we can figure it out, like we're here for you as you're learning this to help you discover how it all works. So, yeah, there's a lot to it.
There is a lot to it. And this is where too, for me, I'm just like oblivious to it too. And I think that's where it's even when you were talking about it, it makes me even think like when I was pregnant, yes, of course, you're having a baby. Yeah, all that. But it's like once you're in it and you're like, holy cow, this thing is never going away. It's my responsibility. I have
Yeah.
to take care of it.
Right.
I think you just don't know until you're in the trenches of it. And I think that's where sometimes it's almost those little blessings of why you've even been focusing on yourself for quite this time. And it was almost like the lesson in life, you were preparing yourself for this because you just don't know when it's going to come, when some lesson's coming. And, I have always admired too, all the different things that you're always trying out because you're always getting that wealth of knowledge or that experience. And so I even think too, you did the coaching course and you took that time for you. You got your master's too. I mean, all these things that you're always adding on to your plate while juggling a family, while living up north and then moving. So this is where even too, what are some things even for listeners of, why you've even focused on yourself sometimes, where sometimes it's hard to focus on ourselves. What tips or things would you say to others?
Yeah, it's incredibly hard to focus on yourself, because you want to do your best for your family, to take care of your family, to support them and be there for them. And but at the same time, if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not having your needs met, then you can't meet their needs. And I've
Mhm.
definitely had my share of situations where, for whatever reason, I've let my self-care routine go off track. And then I can just feel it in every situation that comes up, that like there's just like a resistance or like a friction or something there because I haven't been taking care of myself. And so, as hard as it is, I think that is the most important thing, is taking time for yourself. Um, but it doesn't come easily, it doesn't come naturally. It takes a lot of, I would say, communication. Thankful for my husband and the fact that we are able to support each other in the things that we want and need to do, so that we can be better for each other and for our kids. Um, but yeah, as far as self-care and how to do it, I don't have the answer. All I can say is figure out some things that you need and start small. Meet yourself where you're at. Like, don't try to overhaul all the things at one time, but find something that you can do in the immediate point in time to focus on yourself that will make you feel better. And then start expanding as you can. Like, once you develop one habit, add on another, add on another, add on another. Um, but also make them small and doable. Like, it doesn't have to be some big grandiose thing. Just take little steps to get yourself. And then it has that domino effect. Like you said, you kind of mentioned like the journey that I've been on. Well, the way that I think now in 2023 is not the way that I thought in 2020 or 2017 or, any of the years prior. And it's been a domino effect of learning and growing, and that's gotten me to where I am. And that's why I've been able to handle significant situations with a lot more grace and space for myself, but also the rest of the people that it impacted.
Mm, I love that. And that's where I think too, it's been really eye-opening too of having relationships for people too that understand you and will meet you where you're at, or to need that sometimes you just need that boost of confidence or someone that knows you and understands you. And this is where even I feel like with us is we lived with each other, we got to be by each other 24/7 if we wanted, or when we were at classes, we didn't see each other. But I think sometimes when you have those relationships, you can lean in on that. And I feel like no matter the distance or how we can't always coordinate our families to get together more like we wish. But in a couple weeks, um, we're all going to get together. But I feel like that's the part too, where it's all about that support system. And that's where even to, you know, you even said too of like the diabetes community and, not everybody's going to do things the same way, but it's sometimes getting that opportunity to kind of understand how others are taking a little bit of leaps or maybe a few like steps this way, or they're trying this. And then you can kind of take in all these different ideas or opinions and adjust to what you feel is right for you. But deep
Mhm.
down, it's always having those support people or those relationships that's going to keep keep pushing you ahead, I guess you could say.
And I love what you said there about being able to pull in different parts and pieces. And I also want to add that sometimes you need to shut all those parts and pieces out.
Yeah.
So in particular with Barrett's diagnosis, I had a lot of moms that would like add me to all these different diabetic support groups. And I was checking them out at first, but we were brand new in our diagnosis and my brain could not handle all of that information. I didn't need it. I didn't want it. Some of the things that I was reading were freaking me out. And I was like, I can't be here right now. So as quickly as I was excited to enter into those communities and have that support, I realized that I couldn't at that time take it. And so I think being able to recognize where you are and honoring what you need, what you really need, being able to tune into all these things that you're taking in because we're exposed to so many things in today's day and age, especially through social media. Some of
Mhm.
it's helpful, some of it's not. You need to be able to be that filter for yourself to get rid of what's junk and not serving you, and taking in what is serving you. So, um,
Yeah.
a little bit of both. Like I had to throw in the devil's advocate there because
Yeah, because I would say it's so easy now to compare yourself to other people now that we have so much social media and everything where you're always like watching other people. And I just think, back in the day, you didn't have that opportunity to see what other people were doing. There are the pros and the cons, but also too, it really messes with your brain often and comparing yourself of like, well, I must not be doing it the same way or doing it right because look how much further they are or how things are going over in their family. And so that's the one thing too that I've loved about you is you'll be honest with me and be like, cut out social media for a while. I'm not going to look at it. I'm like, okay, and I think that's her too. It always kind of gives me another reminder of like, maybe I should do that too. Cause I notice we all go in waves,
Mhm.
sometimes you need that, but sometimes it's just a hinder and we
Yeah,
go spiraling down.
yeah,
So this is where too, through your coaching program, I even think of too the ease and flow of things. Now that you have moved, you have diabetes, you have coaching under your belt, but also too, I even think of back to when Dawn and Corinne met. You were in the accounting world of things and you switch gears. And that's where I think
yeah.
too, it's just like the ebb and flows of life. And maybe sometimes we have interests, but it also creates new interests.
It's
So,
so funny. I was actually thinking on my run this morning about like what brought me to accounting. And it was high school bookkeeping that got me
oh,
interested in accounting. Well, bookkeeping is very black and white. Like it suited me to a T because I could balance and I knew that I was on the right track and I loved finding like what that 1 cent error was. So if that gives you any indication into the type of brain I have. Accounting, however, isn't just that. There's a lot more to it. And
yeah.
so didn't quite realize that in the beginning. And then at the end of my college career, I was like, nah, like I'm here because I got this degree, but I'm not going to stay here forever. And so, yeah, I was able to shift into HR and now corporate recruitment. Um, and so it's been a journey of just kind of figuring out like what really speaks to me and where my skills and my passion suited.
Yeah. And I would say, so now with all the diabetes stuff and coaching, I mean, I feel like you're really passionate about, and this is where too, I love hearing how from his perspective and your perspective. And I think that's the part too where you have to find that happy medium of things. But it's like it kind of fuels you by helping other people. And he's going through it, but I think there's a point though for you, it's like that's how you're going through it. And
Yeah.
it's just a reminder that all of us will take in things differently and we need different things to keep going, I guess you could say. So, what do you even see for the future of your how you're getting to be you're still determined and you're evolving with everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's next. I watch you and the journey that you're on and everything that you're exploring, and I love it. And I think there's just so many opportunities out there. You have to be willing to be open to them, um, and make connections where you can, move towards the things that inspire you and away from the things that don't, kind of setting those boundaries in your life, whether it's people or things or, just activities that don't align with you. Like, just keep staying tuned into what feels good inside. And I think
Mhm.
that's going to lead you to ultimately what you want to do. Um, as far as like, yes, I have my coaching certification, and that's definitely something that is on my heart to explore. I haven't quite figured out in what manner. And so when I see people like you, or I connect, like I just got done with a women's retreat this past weekend, connecting with those people and learning about what they're working on and how they got to where they are. Those are things that I just continue to immerse myself in, because
Mhm.
even if it's not for right this moment, it is going to serve me in some way down the road. And I think that's one of the things one of my coaches really instilled in me is, just because it's a no is not like a definitive no. It's a not right now. Like,
Yeah.
maybe my answer to this right now is no, but that doesn't mean it's off the table forever. I can come back to that at some point in time. And so I think when I finished my coaching certification, in my brain, I was like, oh my God, I need to quit my job and I need to like have a coaching business.
Yeah.
That's not it. Like, if it's
Yeah.
not the right time for me, if I'm not in a place to do that, then that's okay. I need to be proud of the work that I just put in. And now I need to like carry that forward with me and figure out when and where and how it's going to fit into my life. And so I think, so often people want answers from us and we just don't have it. Like, we just don't know. I was just listening to, on my walk the other morning, a podcast, and they were talking about like how, like, it's graduation season and you're asking all these seniors, like, all right, what are you going to do next? Where are you going to go to school? What's your plan? Like, what
Yes.
major are you going to get? Well, I told you guys, like, I got my major in accounting and I'm not in accounting anymore. And I'm so happy about that. But at the time when I was going through that, like, I thought that's what I should be doing for a lot of the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just, people always want answers from us and they want to know what we're going to do. Well, you got to be open to where life is going to take you. And I think that's where the magic happens, is in all those little parts and pieces that you could never even predict.
And see, I guess that's where even too, when I go back to why I started the podcast, no matter what, there's no like set path that we're all going on that we think we're going on. It's just we still have that determination to keep going. And we're
Mhm.
going to have those curveballs and we're going to have those U turns and we're going to go up the mountain and then we're going to go down. But no matter what, we're still going to work hard and we're still determined and we're going to see where those tools in our toolbox, we're going to use them in the right times to fix that flat tire. Or
Right.
I keep using like visual things, but that's where I just feel like no matter what, we're going to keep going. And this is where I thought you'd be a great guest on the show because you're always going ahead and you never give up. And this is where too I'm thankful to have you as a friend because I always feel like if I need that moment of some sunshine, I know who to call or someone that will be able to relate to me and not make me feel horrible about myself. We all have those down moments. And I think that's where hopefully the listeners are just understanding how friendships and relationships are so important, but also too to never give up. And so I thank you for being on the show. And this is where if people are wanting to connect with you to learn more, or maybe they just got a diagnosis in their own family too,
Yeah.
how can they connect with you, Corinne?
Well, I'm not fancy. I don't have a website, but you can find me on social media.
Or they can find me.
Facebook or
I can connect
Instagram,
too.
or you can find Dawn and she'll connect us because she's the unique connector. Um, but yeah, I would be more than happy to connect with anyone that, if you're on a type 1 diabetes journey, or you're faced with some other kind of diagnosis and you're like, I just need some perspective. Happy to be that person. And to add on to what you just said, I think, understanding that people are not always going through things with sunshine or in a positive space And so like, if you feel like you're going through something and you're the only one going through it, and if this is really hard for you, but you're the only person that it's hard for, that's not the case. Like, we're highlighting a lot of great things in our conversation today, but we've been with each other in those valleys, and we've been there to support each other, to give resources to each other, and to share that tough stuff that keeps us moving forward. So we're a support that way too. Like, when you're in
Yeah.
the crappy seasons, we're also there for you. And we can bring you up, but we're also going to be able to like empathize with where you're at, because we've had those points in our journeys too.
Thank you for that reminder. Cause I think that's the part too, where sometimes we just feel like we're on an island on our own. No one else can relate, but it's like sometimes you just need to reach out to somebody when you're stuck in that mud that's going to be there to listen, to maybe give you advice if that's what you're looking for. Just a moment to have somebody hug you or cry. I think that's the part too, where we're all on this life journey together. And that's where, for me, why I wanted you on to help bring in a different light, but also to know that we're not all on this journey alone, and not everything is picture perfect, but we're still pushing ahead. And so I appreciate you and so thankful we met. That's where I giggle, the student orientation or whatever student seminar class that we were in together. It was a perfect thing because you, as well as the other girl in there where I got lost with her, all three became besties. And I'm excited
Yeah.
to host the fam at the house in a couple weeks here. So
Well, I
finally.
know, and it's crazy. I highlighted the fact that that was 2003 and it's 2023. So 20 years of friendship that has gone by in the blink of an eye, it feels like.
Ooh, well, maybe there's something with the 20s here. 20 and then 200 miles. Maybe you'll just be 20 miles away one of these days. But
You
anyways,
never
well,
know.
never know. There's always opportunity for future, but I appreciate you and keep shining bright. And I'm thankful for your friendship. So thank you
Thank
for
you for
joining me
having
today.
me.